வாய்ஸ் வரலையா? அது வேணா எனி டெஸ்க்ல எடுக்க சொல்லணும். இப்போ வருதா? Now it's coming. Right. Is that coming? Right. வருதா இப்ப? Is that voice is okay? Voice is okay? Right. So we will start again. Right. So sorry for the inconvenience, and we regret the technical glitch. Right. So we will start again, and thank you for your patience, and thank you for waiting for that. So I'll be just starting up again. So we were just discussing about the risk management. Risk is nothing but uncertainty. Risk is nothing but uneven cash flow. Risk is nothing but how we are managing risk. So what I was telling again is your success is depends on the risk you take, and your survival depends on the risk you avoid. Right? Again, I will repeat: your success depends on the risk you take. Your survival depends on the risk you avoid. We need to have the balance between the risk which you are taking it, the risk you are avoiding it. So today, the entire 1 hour, we are going to talk about the assessing borrower credit worthiness and mitigation of credit risk. So that is what we are going to discuss today. Right? Let's understand one by one. Right? The working capital appraisal, it is a banker's perspective, not from the customer's perspective. Right? Why I'm saying is most of the time we equate risk with genius, but it is mostly recklessness, right? So we need to be careful when we are taking the risk. So let us understand step by step how we are going to assess the credit risk from the banker's perspective with a case study. We are also going to present one case study in the middle of the session, and we will also evaluate the credit proposal step by step how we are going to manage that. Right? So let us understand one by one. Right? Please remember, everybody is genius. Everybody is genius when things are going well. When things are not going well, when we feel, oh, I have done a mistake, I have made a foolish decisions. That is what is happening in credit, because the customer is doing well and his business is going to do well or is doing well, and we feel we have taken a correct decisions. So we feel everybody is genius. I am also a genius. I have taken a right decisions. But when things goes bad, when the account become NPA, that time only we will feel regrets. So let us understand the lack of working capital may also lead to a business to a technical insolvency. I start with that. I say our survival depends on the risk we avoid. Can we avoid not giving the proposal? Can we avoid not giving the sanctions? Can we avoid not dispersing the loans? Absolutely not, because the bank profitability is purely depends on the quote NII. NII means net interest income. The loan which we are giving it, we will be able to manage our NII. So the good quality loan with higher interest rate, we will make our profit. So let us understand how do we do that good quality proposals, right? Please remember, loan appraisal does not mean just analyzing the P&L and balance sheet for sanction of loan by banks, but it is also something beyond, right? I will repeat. Most of the time we will say, we will analyze the P&L and balance sheet, we will be able to perform, but it is something beyond also it is there. So we need to say what is it beyond, right? Please remember these 4 points. The basis for appraisal are to assess, analyze the following, narrate them like a promoter's capability. What is promoter's capability? Is intention to repay. What is promoter's capability? Is ability to generate cash. What is promoter capability is integrity. What is promoter's capability is creditworthiness in the market. What is promoter's capability is trust in the market. So many factors when we talk about promoter's capability. Then we need to analyze the industry. What type of industry which is operating, who is the competitor, how is this competition is aggressive or not. So many things which we need to talk about. That only the financials comes in. That only the financial comes in. More than the financial, the fourth point is very important. That is called risk mitigation. That is called risk mitigation, right? So whenever we are giving a credit, whenever we are giving a proposal to the organizations, whenever we are evaluating, we need to look at these 4 points. One is promoter's capability, industry analysis, competition, financials, and risk mitigation. Right? So always there is a classic story which comes up. Especially in the market, financial market, when the stock market goes up, it will slowly it moves up. It will take probably years to reach 20,000 levels of Nifty, probably 5 years, 6 years. But when it falls from 20,000 to 18,000 in 3 days time. So same thing is for credit risk also. When we take a decisions, we will take very quick decisions. Okay, this party is good. We will give loans or we will do analysis and we will go there. All these things probably we will take a decisions, go to the next level, analysis the financials, and then it will go to the credit committee. Probably 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Sometimes it takes 6 months time also. But the customer fails. It fails in overnight. When the customer fails, he fails in overnight. Right? So please remember, if you are managing a risk, everything when it goes up, it takes lot of time to move up. When it fall down, it fall very fast. It falls very fast. It overnight the customer will become NPA. The customer become default. So analyzing the working capital, we need to do these 4 things and take certain decisions very, very critically to evaluate these proposals, right? Let us understand one by one. What is it, right? What is working capital? Working capital represent those funds that are required to manage day-to-day business operations. It may be raw material, it may be work in progress, it may be wages, it may be rent, it may be a debtor, it may be a bill receivable, it may be a contingency cash, what we require. All these things are working capital. I again repeat, the working capital represents those funds that are required to manage day-to-day business operations. Again, it varies for the customers to customer. Some customer wanted to manage the receivables. He need working capital. Some customer wanted to purchase raw material. He may require a working capital. Some traders who wanted to buy a finished goods from their manufacturers. He may require a working capital. Some customer wanted to pay rent regularly. He may require a working capital. Sometimes, for making a payment in terms of salary, in terms of vendor payment, those customers also, they need working capital. So working capital means represents those funds that are required to manage day-to-day business, that are required to manage day-to-day businesses. Working capital is also known as revolving capital. Working capital is also known as revolving credit. It is also called as circulating capital. It is also called as short-term capital. Why it is called short-term capital? A capital which we need less than 1 year, or a capital which is required for short-term arrangement. That is the reason we call it as short-term capital. And it is also called as asset conversion cycle. But whatever the name you call it as, the working capital is critical for any business to sustain and survive in its life. Sometimes we tighten our credit norms. Sometimes we tighten our credit norms. We don't give a sufficient working capital for the business to run. The business will fall. Sometimes we give a over working capital, excess working capital. What will happen? The customer may use this working capital for some other purposes, not for purchasing raw material, not for purchasing, the inventory. He may use it for investing in stock market. I still remember. I will give you one classic example. There is one customer who is operating, I can say not in Chennai, probably out of Chennai. He is doing a buying and selling some electronic goods. He has taken a overdraft of 50 lakhs from one of the private banks. What he did, no, he has not used that working capital of 50 lakhs for purchasing his goods. He has purchased one villa in Munnar for 50 lakhs, right? So whenever the bank visits his office, he has got sufficient inventory of 50 lakhs. People are sufficient, it's okay, fine. But suddenly the corona comes. He's not able to sell. Whatever the stock which is stuck with the customer, money is not getting rotated. You all know during the corona, the entire market is down and, the short shops are shut and lockdown was there. So nobody is willing to buy. He don't have the stock. He don't have the money. Suppose if he wanted to sell his villa also, he cannot sell it. So that is called mismanagement of working capital. So when you give additional or excess working capital, the customer tend to misuse your working capital, not for the objective intended to. Please remember, the working capital objective is to buy or manage day-to-day business requirement. It is something like driving a car. If you press the accelerator very fast, you may meet accident. Because of that, you fear about that. I will go slow or 20 kilometer, 30 kilometer. You may reach late, or you can keep pressing the brake. What will happen? You will not reach the destination. You need to have a speed. You need to have a control. The credit, as a credit manager, you need two things. You need to have an accelerator, you need to have a brake. If you press the accelerator very fast, you meet the accident. If you press the brake continuously, you will not reach the destination. The brake is nothing but a control. The accelerator is nothing but you can enhance your credit proposal. So you need to have a control over the credit proposal, what you are doing it. So we need to see how we are evolving it, right? So what we understand is working capital is nothing but revolving capital, right? That is what the name which I like it, right? Please remember, I keep on saying that it's a risk. You need to be very cautious, right? But can't we say no, I will not take risk? If you say that, if you're not able to take risk, if you'll not take risk, then your NII will get shrunk. Banking means taking risk. Banking means taking risk. Please remember, taking risk is always better than regrets. But take informative, calculated risk. That is what we are going to understand. How do we do that? The basic criteria, the basic understanding of working capital management is, I say working capital means managing day-to-day businesses, the funds required to manage day-to-day business. What is day-to-day business? That is called current asset. In your balance sheet, it shows as a current asset. Current asset means a asset which can be converted into cash within the span of 1 year. Current asset means a asset which can be converted into cash within the span of 1 year. What is the current asset? Cash and bank balances. What is my cash available with me? What is the balances with the bank? Right? These two are very critical. We call it as liquid asset. Cash and bank balances are also called as a liquid asset. Cash and bank balances is also called as a quick asset. Right? Why it is called as a liquid asset? Why it is called as a liquid asset? Yeah, asset which is readily available to use. That is the reason it is called quick asset or a liquid asset. Then short-term investment. What is short-term investment? A investment which can be redeemable within the span of 1 year. That is called short-term investment. Short-term investment mostly on investment in money market, right? Money market means treasury bill, call money market, repo, reverse repo. All these things are short-term investment, which is redeemable within 1 year. It is CP. CP means commercial paper, a paper which is issued by a corporate, which can be period of 7 days to 364 days, which can be redeemable within 1 year. CD, certificate of deposit, issued by commercial bank for the span of 7 days to 364 days, redeemable within the span of 1 year. These are all called short-term investment. Short-term investment means a investment in the market which can be redeemable within the span of 1 year. Current asset as a definition, a investment or items which can be converted into cash within the span of 1 year. What is the third thing? Short-term deposit with the bank, fixed deposit, matured in less than 365 days, right? Even 365 days is not a short term. I can say less than 365 days, probably 7 days, 14 days, 90 days, 181 days, 362 days. These are all short-term deposit with the bank. Receivables and installments. Receivables means I have sold the goods and credit. That money will come within 364 days. That is called receivable. And the inventory advances to suppliers. That means I have supplied goods to my suppliers that will come back at any point of time. Any advance payment of GST, any advance payment of direct tax, income tax, this is also a current asset which can be realized within the span of 1 year. So repeat again, the current asset is nothing but working capital requirement. All these factors put together, if you total it, it is called working capital requirement. It is called working capital requirement. So, what is working capital? A working capital is nothing but a fund which is required to manage day-to-day business. What is day-to-day business? What is the funds required? Cash, bank balances, short-term investment, short-term deposit, bill receivable, sundry debtors, and inventory. So these are all the things. Please remember, cash and bank balances, anything which is liquidated in a overnight is called liquid asset or quick asset. In a formula wise, if you are in a mathematical equation, current asset minus inventory, it is called quick asset. Current asset minus inventory is called quick asset or it is called liquid asset, right? So this is a very basic but thumb rule one must understand. If anybody wanted to sanction a cash credit, anybody wanted to sanction a working capital, you must know what is current asset. You must know what is current asset, right? If you don't know the current asset, it will be a very nightmare for you, especially on the working capital management. As a banker, as a student, if you wanted to become a good credit officer, especially funding cash credit, funding overdraft, funding inventory funding, or funding against bill receivable, you must know what is cash credit. Cash credit, what is current asset? Current asset means a asset which can be converted into cash within the span of 1 year. Right? Right. We'll see. The next one is current liability. Right? I told you current asset is nothing but any asset which can be converted into cash within the span of 1 year. Current liability is nothing but a liability which can be payable. Payable means I need to give. Payable within the span of 1 year. Any liability means I owe you. I have to pay you. I owe you. Owe you means OWE. I owe you. Payables. Any payable within the span of 1 year is called current liability. Right? So what is that? Short-term borrowing from bank. What is short-term borrowing? Cash credit, overdraft, any temporary OD, any loan against FD, any of the loan or even personal loan, any term loan which is payable within the span of 1 year is called short-term borrowing. Short-term borrowing means any payable within the span of 1 year is called short-term borrowing. Bill purchased and bill discounted. What is bill? The bill is defined under Negotiable Instrument Act. Bill is nothing but Negotiable Instrument Act. Bill is, I'll just give you a very small brief background about the bills. Bill means negotiable instrument. There are two parties, drawer and drawee. Drawer is nothing but maker of a bill. Drawer is nothing but maker of a bill. Drawer makes unconditional order to drawee to make payment. That is called bill of exchange. What is bill of exchange? Drawer makes unconditional order in writing with a signature to a drawee. Drawee means in the whose name the bill is being made. It is defined under negotiable instrument. So drawer makes unconditional order in writing to a drawee. Please make the payment. That is called bill of exchange. It is purchased. Bill purchased means a seller it goes to the bank and submit the bill. a seller goes to the bank and submit the bill, right? And banker will fund 100% of invoice value. That is called bill purchase. Bill purchase can be done only with a demand bill. What is demand bill? Payable on demand. There are three type of bill: demand bill, side bill, usance bill. What is demand bill? Demand bill is nothing but payable on demand. That means when you submit the bill, the buyer who makes a payment to you, right? That is called demand bill. Bill purchase can be possible only with demand bill. Then we have a bill discounted. What is bill discounted? When the seller go and present the bill to the buyer or the banker take the bill and give 80% of the invoice value. Right? He will not give full percent, 100%. He will give 80% because the bill discounted can be done with usance bill. What is usance bill? It is a credit bill. What is credit bill? I am sending the goods to the buyer. The buyer will make a payment after 30 days, after 60 days, after 90 days, after 1 year. That is called usance bill. That is a credit bill. The credit bill present to the banker will fund 80% of the invoice value. That is called bill discounted. That is called bill discounted. That is also current liability. Please remember. Advance payment deposit from customer. I received money from the customer. I have to give back. That is called advance payment or deposit from customer. Sundry creditor, payable within the span of 1 year. Interest expenses accrued. Again, that is current liability. Dividend payable. I supposed to pay dividend but not paid. I declared dividend not paid. I supposed to pay. I'm going to pay this month. I'm going to pay next month. That is called dividend payable. And installment of loans. Any loans which I supposed to pay within the span of 1 year is all called current liability. Again, I will repeat. Current liability, a liability which I need to make a payment within the span of 1 year. What is current asset? A current asset is an asset which can be converted into cash within the span of 1 year. So current asset minus current liability is called net working capital or working capital gap. What is working capital gap? Current asset minus current liability. Current asset minus current liability. That we call it as net working capital gap or net working capital. Right? Gross working capital is nothing but current asset. Net working capital is nothing but current asset minus current liability. What is current asset? Current asset is an asset which can be converted into cash within the span of 1 year. Current liability, a liability which can be payable within the span of 1 year. Please remember this basic compliant or basic understanding of balance sheet. That is current asset and current liability. Right? Right. So we were talking about current asset and current liability, right? So can we just take the balance sheet and do that? Can we just take it and do that? Please remember, when you wanted to climb the mountain, right? You cannot control the mountain. You cannot control the mountain, but you can control your climbing speed. You can control your climb. Same way, in the balance sheet also, you cannot control the financials of the customers. That is a mountain. You cannot control the financials of the customer. He will give any kind of financials to you. Any type of balance sheet he can give you. It may be good. It may be followed all the accounting standards. It may be everything. But the climbing up on the mountain, it is under you. You can control your speed. You can manage your risk. You only have to manage your risk. The balance sheet is prepared by the customer. Analysis of the balance sheet is by you. We always complain, balance sheet is bad, sir. You will cook up. You only cook up. No, this all data is wrong, sir. He is giving something scrap. Yes, you'll do only that. But we as a banker, we should know what we should know. Most of the time, probably, the risk comes from not knowing things, right? Risk comes from not knowing what we are doing it. Risk comes from not knowing what we are doing. Not knowing what we are doing is. I know what I know. No problem. I know what I know, no problem. I don't know what I don't know, no problem. I don't know what I don't know, that is the biggest problem. Warren Buffett says risk comes from not knowing what we are doing it. Most of the time, we take a balance sheet, we just do analysis, we put it everything in the system. The system will give some pictures, and if this formula is there, then we will say yes to that. Please don't do that. Please read, please analyze, please apply your mind, please evaluate, please the segregate, discuss with your colleague, and think through. Think as a customer, think as a banker, think as a supplier, evaluate. Then you will understand what is it all about it. Whatever he is submitting, it's not just numbers, it is all equivalent to the kind of risk which you are taking it. So that is what we are going to see. The working capital is nothing but operating cycle. What is operating cycle? How much speed? How we are converting raw material into work in progress to finished goods to customer invoice to account receivable. Please see the operating cycle, the flow chart. Purchases, raw material, production, finished goods, then it goes to customer invoice, account receivable, collection and cash. This is called working capital cycle. It is also called as operating cycle. Are we funding for this operating cycle? That is the question here. That is the question here. Are we funding for this operating cycle? Right? Let us understand conceptual approach of working capital. We have operating cycle. Gross working capital is nothing but current asset. Net working capital is nothing but current asset minus current liability. Please remember these 3 points. Current asset is greater than current liability, positive working capital. Please remember, current asset is greater than current liability, positive working capital. Current asset is less than current liability, negative working capital. Please remember this. If your current asset is equal to current liability, you don't require working capital at all. For positive working capital as well as zero working capital, no problem. When there is a negative working capital, you should be cautious. You should be cautious. That means you borrowed more. He has borrowed more, but the current asset is less. Most of the time, it's a good proposal. If your current asset is higher than current liability, that means he has put his own cash to buy current asset. For example, current asset is 100, current liability is 80. That means he has put 20 rupees for purchasing current asset. If his current liability is 120, current asset is 100, that means you need to be cautious. You need to be cautious. The first signal, I'm teaching you, the first signal, look at current liability and current asset. If it is a negative working capital, call the customer and ask him why it is like this, why he has over borrowed, where the stock has gone, where the cash has gone, why the receivable is less compared to current liability, what he is having. Because current liability is a short term liability, current asset is a short term asset. The short term asset is equal to short term liability, I'm LT. Short term asset is higher than the short term liability, I'm super LT. Right? My liability is higher than the asset. That means I am sick. I'm sick. Do you want to fund sick industry? Obviously, no. You will not do it. I'm again repeating it. Please remember, this is the biggest quote, the favorite quote which is given by Warren Buffett. Risk comes from not knowing what we are doing it. Please understand. Please look at. Please understand what you are doing it. That is the only thing which safeguards you. Right? I given a classic example. Current asset is $1 lakh. Current liability is $60,000. Your working capital is 40,000. Additional, you can fund it. Right? This is what cash flow management, decision making, business growth, and then reputation. These are all the factors which you can look at. Current asset is 1 lakh. Current liability is 60,000. There is a gap of 40,000. You can play around. Suppose your current liability is more than 1 lakh. You say, boss, please bring your cash to back to the business. Then we will discuss. Right? So that is a point which you need to discuss. Right. Let us understand. Factors determining working capital. Nature of business. What type of business is doing it? He is selling mobile phone, he is selling car, he is selling two-wheeler, he is doing some services, he is running an institute. What type of business he is doing it? What is the size of his business? Big, small, medium? What is it? Is it a production? It is a service industry? What is it? What is the credit period to debtor? Cash and carry or 90 days credit? What is the credit period which he enjoys with suppliers? What is his nature of inventory? What is his cash reserves? These are all the factors which you need to ask him. Right? Please ask this question to the customer. Right? Right. I'm just slowly, steadily getting into the nitty-gritty of working capital. Right. I'm slowly, steadily getting into the nitty-gritty of working capital. What is MPBF? Maximum permissible bank finance. That means how much you can lend it to the customer. Maximum permissible bank finance. How much you can lend it. There are two methods. This is given by tandem committee. This is given by tandem committee. Maximum permissible bank finance. First method and second method. This are all tandem committee. Very famous. This turnover method. Recently, in July 2023, RBI issued a specific circular on urban cooperative bank. Those who are working in bank, please read RBI circular on loans and advances. Loans and advances. Here I am trying to quote some of the circular, but because of the time constraints, I am not bringing the circular and explaining that because we are very planning to complete this seminar in 1 hour's time. So that I'm not bringing this circular, RBI circular, all these things into here because that is more of towards academic. And RBI issued on June 2023 a specific circular on loans and advances to UCB. UCB means Urban Cooperative Bank. He is talking about turnover method. Turnover method. Turnover method initially is shared by Nayak Committee. Nayak Committee. It's specifically used for SME, small medium enterprises, or MSME, micro small medium enterprises. Right? So the turnover method is very popular, especially SME, and we need to look at. Third is a cash budget method. Receipts and payments are projected and deficit indicate required bank finance. Right? So there are three methods. One is tandem committee, which talks about MBBF. MBBF is maximum permissible bank finance. The method one and method two is that. The second one is turnover method. Third one is cash budget method. It all have a receipts and payment. Right? I given a one picture here. Right? We have a 5 or 6 bulbs. Right? All these are look at as a credit proposal. Do you wanted to look at all the 6 credit proposal and sanction it? Not necessary. You will get n number of proposal. Pick up the good one, which enhance your career. Each credit proposal you need to pick and choose. You need to pick and choose. Giving loan is easy. Recovery is always difficult. I always give a quote. Till give a loan, no, the customer comes to your branch. He will wait for you. When you go out, also he will wait for you. You will just, silently sit in the branch and say, good morning, sir, good evening, sir, good afternoon, sir. He will call you up. He will say, yes, yes, sir, please come, sir, okay, sir, and all that. The moment you are given a loan, you need to reciprocate now. You need to call him and say, yes, sir, please, sir, give me this statement, sir, and all that, right? So you need to be very, very careful at the selection stage itself, right? You need to be very, very careful at the selection stage itself. So that is the reason I am just given this picture to select only the good proposal, right? Right. So I am slowly, steadily getting into that. What are all the 3 things which we require? Margin money. What is margin money? How much customer brings his money to the working capital. For example, working capital is 100. He has to give you 20 rupees. 80 rupees only the bank can fund it. Margin money. What is the collateral value? Immovable, movable. What is the collateral value it gives? Margin money, collateral value, and then quantum of finance. Look at these 3 aspects, right? Very critical for you. What you should know, what is the margin money which he brings, what is the collateral which he brings, and how much you can fund it, right? Before we go to the real case study, we will see what are all the steps we can follow, right? In a broader aspect. Financial to be collected. There should be a data sheet. You need to fill it up. Analyze the financials, right? These two are major steps. After that, do a credit rating. It may be internal, it may be external. External may be CRISIL, ICRA, Fitch, Standard and Poor, whoever it may be. Then sanction a proposal, documentation, and disbursement. So these are all the broader aspects. But today's case study, we will take a financials, analyze those financials, how it looks like that. Right? Right. 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 So we understand what is working capital, what is current asset, what is current liability. We understand. Now we are taking up a case study, understand how we can review the balance sheet, how we can review the P&L, what are all the ratios we can make it, and then finally we say we are going to give a loan or not. We are going to give a loan or not. So this is the case study. A trading company selling automobiles and looking for working capital to buy vehicle from manufacturer. Trading company means a company which is buying and selling of vehicles. The working capital limit is predominantly buying an inventory. Why I'm saying is, whenever you are talking to the customer, you should ask them, why do you need this working capital? Why do you need this working capital? This working capital is required for purchasing inventory, or this working capital is required for funding receivables. What for you are required this working capital? So that is what that case study is all about. Here, this customer is required predominantly by inventory from manufacturers. Currently, he is selling 50 cars per month. I said vehicle, 50 cars per month. He is expected to sell 60 cars. Average cost per vehicle is 6 lakhs. Average stock currently he is holding 70 days of stock. 70 days. That means almost 60, 70 cars he is holding it. Working capital requirement is 7 crore he is asking. He is asking 7 crores. So the background of the customer is a trader who buy and sell automobiles. His current sales is 50 cars and he is expected to sell 60. So probably he will be selling more also. We don't know. And his current stock is almost 1.5 months, nearer to 1.5 months. And his requirement is around 7 crores. His requirement is around 7 crores. So let us understand his P&L and balance sheet. Right? So this is his P&L. I'm just taken a little old P&L that is at 16, 17 and 15, 16. Anytime when you are looking at financials, please take 3 years financials. Don't look at current financials, only 2 years financials. Take a 3 years financials. Because of the time constraints, I have taken only 2 years financials. Financials means P&L, balance sheet, cash flow, fund flow. Based on that, you have to do ratio analysis. I repeat again. When you talk about financials, you need to take P&L, that is income statement, balance sheet, asset and liability, cash flow, that has to be arrived from balance sheet, fund flow, that gives sources and application, right? These are all the 4 statements you need to do your working capital requirement. So here I have given you a profit and loss statement. The top line is nothing but sales. 15, 16, he has done 257 crores. 16, 17, he has done around 577 crores, right? 15, 16, he has done 457, and 16, 17, he has done 547, 577, right? So his top line, total sales is increased. That is a good sign, number one. Number two, gross profit. Is it increased? Increased from 24 to 51. 24 to 51 because his sales is increased. But what you should note is this gross profit. 24 to 51 is increased, but its percentage of gross profit 9.42 to 8%. It is slow, small dip. Why? That we will see. But his gross profit is in percentage term decrease. In absolute term, it is increased. That's okay. Currently, it's okay. Earning before interest, EBIT, that is increased 1.79 to 2.2. That is a good sign. That's because of depreciation is increased, right? And non-cash expenses is not there. And earning before interest in terms of values, it is increased almost to three times, 4.6 to 12.68. It is increased almost three times. It is a good operating profit. If you look at interest and financial charges to the bank, it is also increased from 4.7 to 11.18, but top line is higher, your gross profit is higher, so its operating profit has increased. It has come out from negative minus 0.11 to 0.19, and profit before tax 15-16, he was negative of minus 0.05, and he has come down to plus 0.3. So three aspects we'll have to look at. One is gross profit. Gross profit is increased from 24 to 51. It's almost more than double. That is a good sign. And earning before interest, it is also tripled 4.6 to 12.68. That is also good. Profit before tax, last year it is negative. This year it is positive. That is good. So this year he has made a profit 0.11 percentage. Right? Let us understand the balance sheet now. Let us understand the balance sheet. Balance sheet, equity capital is there, and total shareholder funds, earlier it is 1.68, yes, increased to 7.62, 7.12. This is a good one. Shareholder funds is very important. That is nothing but a network. Any customer has got a good network, we can close our eyes and give a loan. Long-term loan also come down 15.92 to 8.21. That means the customer has repaid certain loans. That is also a good sign. Current liability is increased 96 to 108. That is okay because his top line has increased, sales has increased, current liability is increased. That's okay to us. That's not an issue. Right? Let us understand the fixed asset. Fixed asset has reduced. It is good because he has not purchased any new fixed asset. Depreciation is there. And current asset 93 to 112 because current liability also is increased. Sales has increased. It's okay. If you look at his stock in trade 6.21 to, sorry, stock in trade 68 to 975. There is a small increase in stock in trade. And receivables up to 6 months only 0.04, and cash and bank balances. This is a LT sign. Cash and bank balances. Last year it is 5, it is 7. It is almost 40-50% is increase. So these are all the good signs for these businesses. Total application of fund, source of funds has been given. So the balance sheet is concerned, 3 points I request you to look at. One is total shareholder funds, that we call it as a net worth. Second one is what is his long-term loans, whether it is reduced or increased. Third one is what is his current asset and current liability. So these are all the 3 points you need to visit, revisit, look at. Whenever you talk about credit proposal, please remember 3 points. I can say 3R. First R is risk, second R is rebalance, third R only return comes in. Look at 3R: risk, rebalance, and return. Right? Rebalance means revisit, recheck, revalidate. Right? You need to do reassess. Right? Recheck, revalidate, reassess. Risk, revalidate, revalidate, and third one is return. The return comes on the last, or reward comes on the last. Look at risk, rebalance, and reward. These are all the 3 R's which you can look at. Let us understand the balance sheet analysis. Right? Sales has increased. Percentage change 125%. This is the abstract of financials. Gross profit increased from 24 to 51. EBITDA margin almost doubled 1.8 to 3.05 percentage. What is EBITDA? Earning before interest, depreciation, and tax. What is EBITDA? Earning before depreciation, interest and tax. It is increased from 1.8 to 3.05. Depreciation. There is a depreciation which we have 17. Right? Net profit. Last year negative. This year it will become positive. Look at owner's equity. Right? Quasi equity. Total debt is increased. And debt and equity, how many times? Right? Total outsiders liability to total net worth. TOL means total outsiders liability. T and W means total net worth, current asset. Right? So these are all the key parameters you need to evaluate. These are all the key parameters you need to evaluate. Now we will go and analyze the proposal. Right? You will see total shareholder funds increase is a good one. Adjusted tangible net worth is increased is a good one. Right? So the first point, adjusted tangible net worth is increased. Right? So the steps, the first step is we collected financials, we analyzed the financials, P&L and balance sheet, we made a ratios that we have done. Now we are going to make a proposal summary. Right? Proposal summary is nothing but we are going to present this summary to the management for requesting them to sanction the loan. Right? So what are all the things which we are going to do that? So these are all the steps. Proposal summary we are going to give, background data, limit breakup and utilization, collateral type and valuation, financial ratios, personal net worth, sales, stock audit, credit limit calculations, portfolio concentration, deviation summary, any deviation which you are taking in collateral documentation or any recommendation. This is what it is. That is the final recommendation we are going to do. Step by step involved in evaluating financial credit proposals. Right? But when you are doing it, remember 3R. What is that? Risk, rebalance, and reward. I will repeat. Risk, rebalance, and reward. Right? Risk is your first priority. Credit risk of default. Think every aspect, every line item, think whether this customer is going to default or not. What are all the control mechanism we are taking it. Then rebalance it. Ask for more information. Revisit, revalidate, reassess. Then only returns. Right? Right. Here I have given the number. First one, what you need to do? Proposal summary you have to make. Second one, background note. Dealer group, customer group, he is doing only this business, any other businesses. What is his operational performance? What is his sales on this year? What is the sales on next year? And how he is doing it? What is his payment? What is his audit? All these things he has to do. The first one is proposal summary. Second one is background. Third one is analysis, limit breakup and utilization. Right? This sheet is very, very important, critical. You need to see what is his limit type, term loan, what are that. Even though you are evaluating credit proposal, you need to see what are all the other loans which he has taken it. What is his term loan? INF means inventory funding, funding against stock. Whatever parts, any other loans which he has taken. Adapt. What is the current one? What is the current loan? What is proposed? What is the variance? Right? What is the average utilization? For example, you would have sanctioned 10 crore. You would have utilized 8 crores. Has he utilized fully or not? What is his peak utilization? What is the maximum utilization on a particular month? That is what you need to see. That is the third point. Current, proposal, variance, and peak utilization. The fourth important point is what is his collateral? What is his collateral? Cash collateral how much? Mortgage is how much? With your bank how much? Total collateral how much? Right? I'll repeat. Cash collateral. Cash collateral means he might have given FD, he might have given any shares or any other cash in advance or cash can be there. Or mortgage. Mortgage means immovable property. Any movable property as collateral. What is the total collateral? What he is having it. Fifth one, your financial ratios. Revenue means sales. Total revenue means sales. What is the gross margin percentage, operating margin, EBITDA, net profit, total debt and total equity, Current ratio is nothing but current asset and current liability, and then personal net worth. Right? These are all the customer's name. His family. Johnny has how much? Personal net worth. Personal net worth means in his individual name, how much property is having it. In the promoter's individual name, how much cash he is having it. In his individual name, how much jewelry he is having it. Individual name, liability. What is his adjusted net worth? What is adjusted net worth? Total asset minus total liability. That is called adjusted net worth. Right? Total asset minus total liability. That is the sixth point. Seventh one is what is his sales? Right? Eighth one is stock audit. Right? Do a stock audit and have that information in hand. Ninth one is credit limit calculation. What is his business? What is the credit limit which is asked for? What is the inventory in days which is there? What is the activated credit limit? This is there 7 crore. Proposed exposure how much? What is the percentage of concentration? Percentage of concentration on the particular customer as the bank overall credit. What will be the percentage of concentration? That is what you need to know. Right? Finally, any deviation which you are taking it, please let us know. Group exposure and recommendation. Renewal of limits with existing collateral. Yes, I am going to give. PG means personal guarantee with a 66%. Seeking approval for renewal of limit. Next renewal date which you give. Right? So this is what the complete proposal you make for the customer. Right? So we are just coming at the end of the presentation. Right? So as a working capital or a credit management or mitigation of risk, the priority is risk. Second priority is revalidate or rebalance. Third only return. Right? If you are managing risk properly, you can make your proposal stronger, sufficient, and efficient, and you can make sufficient profit to the organizations which you are working for it. Right? When the account is become default, the bank will not bother about how much NIA you have made. The bank will question you the quantum of NPA which has happened on account of you. We are all responsible for NPA. We are all responsible for NII. Either NII or NPA. We are sandwiched between that. We want zero NPA with a good NII. For that, what we need to do is managing risk. I will close with my sessions saying that with again Warren Buffett, risk comes from not knowing what we are doing it. Risk comes from not knowing what we are doing it. Right? Please remember this quote and then carry forward. Any questions comes to the forum? Right? No questions. Right? So thank you so much. And we have the next seminars coming up in the next month, most probably in the asset allocation side and the financial planning side. So we'll catch you up on that. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Stop on it. We are on dot line.